I literally just was explaining my flavour of ADHD and my mic's not on, and I see the irony. I do. Let's start this again. Why do I think that I'm qualified to make this video? What's given me the audacity? Because I'm doing the damn thing. I have always loved goal setting and organisation. I don't know, I've been kind of embarrassed. I guess it's not very cool, but I love it. And this year, I feel like I've really nailed a system that's kept my goals ticking along in the background, even when life doesn't go to plan, when my interests change, when my goals adapt. And so for probably the first time in my life, I've been realistic about the fact that there are different types of goals. So essentially what I wanted was a system that allows me to have these overarching goals. I know generally the direction that I want to be going in and different sort of projects and habits that I can implement to get there. But I also know that throughout the year things will change and I want to be able to adapt my goal system without throwing the whole baby out with the bathwater. Oh, do you have thoughts? Now, I have ADHD, which I only discovered late last year, but I would say my flavour of the disorder is essentially that when the wheels fall off, they're off. This, hand in hand with the fact that I'm a perfectionist, can mean that, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, but I will design ambitious goals and then when those wheels fall off, I hadn't found the way to get back on track. And I think I've got that with this system because the wheels have fallen off and I'm back. So what I'm going to go through today is how I set goals, how I review my goals. We're going to look at what I've achieved so far this year. Relatedly, what I've decided to can this year, what I've pivoted away from, what I'm focusing on from now till the end of the year. And I'm going to finish off with some things that I've learnt through this process, some ideas for goals that I'm jotting down for next year, just kind of looking forward even further. So we've got a lot to yap about. I think this might be a long one. Let's get to business. By the way, I'm Georgia. I am all about living a creative and stylish life. Am I recording? I'm Georgia. I'm all about living a creative and stylish life without trying to screw my bank account or the planet. DIYs, upcycling, thrifting, personal finance, lifestyle. Honestly, I'm still finding my groove on YouTube, but I really like just kind of hanging out here. So, okay, how I set goals. This I thought was kind of innovative. Maybe it's really basic. I don't know. But if there's one thing I want you to take from this video, it's the distinction between outcome goals and input goals. So outcome goals are big picture, but they're things that you might not necessarily have entire control over. So it might be, I want to lose 10 kilos. It might be, I want to get a promotion at work. It might be, I want to sell $100,000 worth of whatever. These are good goals to have. That's like vision board type stuff. But doing those things aren't all entirely in your control. And you don't want to not be able to celebrate yourself for making progress towards creating the life that you want. So we break these down into input goals. Input goals are clear steps for how you get to the outcome. They can't be dependent on external factors. So for example, if you're in social media, it can't be like hit 20,000 followers. It would be post 3 times a week because that's something that you can tick off. I did do that 3 times a week. Or if it's a health and fitness one, it's not weigh certain amount of whatever. It's go to the gym 4 times or try this 6-week salsa dance class or whatever it is. You know, you get the drift. Now, what I've done in my system, and this is mainly about like tracking and being able to visualize in a way that I find really motivating and keeping me on task, is of input goals, there are habits and there are projects. So habit goals are the habits and automation tasks that I need to implement consistently with regular frequency to move toward my goal. Whereas milestone goals are mini projects or one-off actions that I need to complete to move toward that larger outcome. So generally a habit will be something that I want to keep throughout the year. Some examples of mine are exercise, I think 4 or 5 times a week, see my mum once a month, cook a new meal with Jai each month. These are like with regular frequency. And then projects are things like write a pitch. One of mine this year was swim in 3 new bodies of water. So there's 2 reasons that I distinguish these. As I said, tracking, like I track the habits differently, whereas generally a milestone is yes, did I do it? No, I didn't. Or, you know, how far towards that end goal am I? Whereas the habits are just like, I want to keep doing them, slow and steady. So within my goal setting system, I have a metric column for each of the process goals. So I know how I'm going to track it to reduce any decision fatigue at the end of the month when I'm trying to update what I've achieved that month. The second reason is the way that it's displayed. In my Notion tracker, I want to have the milestones or mini projects there. I'm locking in for a short period. I'll get into that. And I want to be reminded that for that period, that's the thing I'm working on. Whereas if I had all of my goals, including my habits, displayed in that way, I wouldn't know what to focus on. So at the start of the year, I fleshed all this out. I thought about the outcomes that I'd like to have achieved by the end of this year or whenever in the future. And then I decided what habits and milestones I needed to achieve to reach that outcome. Then I plotted that into seasons. Now, you've probably heard of the 12-week year before, maybe. If you're watching content like this, you might have come across that. It's a system from a book that I haven't read, but I think that the idea, what I've heard is that a lot of people's annual goals could actually be achieved in 12 weeks and you just need to set yourself up. And I really resonated with that. I like the idea of locking in for a shorter period and then moving on to something. But I took a different spin on it, which was setting seasonal goals. Like, don't mind me, but I think this is quite clever. I'm starting to think about my goals in November. December, January, February are often a bit of a write-off, not a write-off, but generally a chiller time. I'm focusing more on goals about like family, setting up good habits for the new year. And I don't want to just start that on January 1st. I find that I would rather be starting those habits in December rather than letting December just be an absolute write-off. And also then, you've got your autumn goals, your winter goals, your spring goals. It thematically made more sense to me. I reflect each month on these and I have a template that I'll show you. Some of my goals will move across seasons. So I had wanted to complete the 30-day calm meditation course in summer. I thought that was a good summer goal. I didn't finish it. So it became a summer and autumn goal. I'm not going to say that I failed a goal just because I didn't get it done in that quarter. The whole idea is progress, not perfection. You're better off reassessing and actually finishing the goal. And this is a key point. Your goal system needs to be flexible, not restrictive. And designing and measuring my goals with this framework in mind, it's as much a mindset shift as it is being flexible with your actual goal measuring system. So keep that in mind. It's getting chilly. All right, let's get into reviewing my goals. So here are the outcome goals that I had listed at the start of the year. As I explained, these are more vibey, less necessarily, they don't have to be measurable. Smile at strangers, be more connected to my community. You can't necessarily say yes or no except by feeling. So at the end of the year, I will look back at these and say, do I think that I am better in each of these instances than I was a year ago? But what we really want to be looking at is the strategy. Is there anything here that's embarrassing that I should block out? So I keep everything in toggles because I just like everything to be able to be tucked away and neat and only see what I need to at the time. But here are all of my input goals. So you'll see they're tagged between project and habits. I can also just look at different types by category. But the only thing I really think is relevant to show you here, because it'll help like make the rest of the spreadsheet, the dashboard make sense, is the total and goal. So for things like habits, like say exercise 5 times per week, I just did 52 by 5 and got 260. And so if I met that goal 100%, that would mean that I did 260 workouts that year. I am not tracking, but still, I'm proud of myself. But basically, I do a monthly reflection at the end of each month. And part of it, there's, other sort of general reflection stuff, but part of it is adding up my totals for the different goals that month. So habits is kind of easy to calculate the total goal for. Things like projects, you'll kind of decide how you're going to measure what 100% is. So something like a 30-day course, it was 30 days total, so I just counted how many days I did. But something that might be a yes, no, like did I send a brand pitch or not? I'll just make it 1. And once I've done it, it's 1 and it'll go to 100%. So those 2 sections, they're more for kind of planning at the start of the year. These are the ones that I leave open all the time. So let's start with a quick recap of all my project goals. I think the ideal number to have in each season is probably like 5 to 6. It'll probably be really boring for you if I go in detail over each one of my goals, but essentially I'm going to put them up on screen so you can have a look in case you need inspiration for your own. Hopefully there's nothing personal or embarrassing up on here. But yeah, so we've just wrapped up winter. And there were 2 that I didn't complete. I've marked them as big fail. Normally I have that not visible, like I'll just remove that. But I just wanted to show you how I move or can goals. Because when you get to spring, I have quite a few here. And this is because I've just dumped everything that if I haven't completed it earlier in the year or I've thought of a new goal, I've popped them on here. But now we are going to cull. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to can launching a physical product. I thought I would make things and sell them in time for Christmas, but I'm just being realistic with my time here. Billy, I had planned to do kind of some sort of training program in spring, but we're dealing with like an allergy situation. So I think we're just going to focus more on figuring out what her allergy is, and I'll try and do a training program next year. FYI, all of these just end up going in this section, and I will use them as my inspiration for 2026 goals. I'm not going to do the 5K runner program now either. Can maybe be next year. I do want to go fruit picking. So there's a spot for me to write some notes here. Where's the notes on? Book camping at Orchardlands. I think that's where I want to do it. There's like a place not too far from Sydney where you can camp, and it's dog friendly, and you can go, or maybe it's Canoe Lands. That's right, Canoe Lands. Sometimes I'll use this extra space to plan things out, but the metric for that will just be 1 out of 1. I just do it or I don't. Then mend or upcycle 3 items from my mending pile. So basically for the next 3 months, I've got a bunch of birthdays in September. I'm going overseas in October, only for a week, but that always just throws things out. And then November. So I kind of think projects I won't really be able to do till November. This is something, I think these are the things that I kind of more recently added that are more about okay with my hands. As you can see, I haven't added photos for them. I think, do I want to prioritize getting all my clothes on wearing? Yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay, just stand by. I'm going to figure these out, add some notes so that I'm kind of ready for spring, and then I'll come back and yap about it. I have refined my spring goals. I've got it down to 5, which I am really happy with. Go fruit picking. That was something I've had since last year. I've wanted to go do, so I'm going to keep that. I want to get all of my clothes on wearing. The metric for that is just 1 out of 1, if I get them on or not. Then launch my 2026 budget spreadsheet. By the way, I don't think I've mentioned it, but this Notion template is for sale if you want to start setting your goals. So I've broken that down into tasks, and I'll make the goal 5. So as I do a task, I will tick it off. Create a brand identity. This is something that I have been wanting to do for so long. I kind of have a vibe for okay with my hands, but I just keep changing my mind. Like I'll change fonts all the time and blah, blah, blah. And it does cause decision fatigue. So I would love to be able to just know, okay, these are the fonts I use. These are the colors I use, blah, blah, blah. And then the last one is I had mend 3 items. Like I'd had that, I think, in autumn and in winter, and I just never got around to it from my mending pile. I don't want to set too difficult of a goal of getting a big mending project done, because November will be the only time I can really do it. And I feel like Christmas stuff is going to start taking over my life then. So I'm just writing to plan all my mending March content for next year. If you're new, I did this series on Instagram last year where I fixed something every day in March and posted a video of it. And that's kind of where my social presence grew. And it was really fun. It was a bit of a fail this year. I just really ran out of time. So that will make me feel good, I think, going into December. For the ones that I've canned, I don't think I'll have time to launch a physical product. Analytics deep dive, this is for my social media stuff. I wanted to stop and look at what's been working, what hasn't, and I'm going to move this to summer because I will do that at the end of December. Train Billy probably already spoke about. Winter arc, this was something that this is because it's in the fail category, because I just started a challenge that I set myself and then didn't do it, and I think it was unrealistic. Anyway, fixed entryway sideboard, same thing as the mending stuff. It's this big upcycle project that I've got to do, and I just can't imagine having the time to do it before summer. I feel like it could be a January project, maybe. Complete the 5K runner program. I don't know. I'm really willing myself to be a runner, but I'm just not. And run the city to surf, I didn't do it. So that's obviously in the fail category. Now, let's go on to, I'll park this here because this is basically what I want to see every time I open this dashboard, is these inspirational images for the projects that I'm focusing on. Now, habits. we are currently 75% of the way through my goals because we're 3 seasons in of a 4-season year. So anything that is under 75% in this progress bar, I'm not meeting. I'm down on exercise 5 times per week. This is probably a learning for next year in that maybe 5 times per week is too high. And also I need to calculate having some weeks off, like when I'm away and stuff. So say if it was actually, say like a job, you would do, say it was 4 times per week for 48 weeks, 192. I wonder if that was the goal, what would it be? Yeah, I still wouldn't have met it, but I'd be closer. Increasing my steps to an average, I think my average was only like 5,000 when I was writing these in November last year. So I'm well above that now. That's why I'm way above 7,000. That's why the annual progress bar is so high. I would also say probably like trying to do an average as something to calculate is not great because I had to like do some maths every month to just figure out how much it increased by. So I'd maybe just do like, get minimum 7,000 steps per day, and then the metric per month would be 30 or 28 or 31 or whatever. And I'd just figure out how many days of the year I did that. 5 alcohol-free days a week. Yeah, I mean, I'm down from the goal, but what can I say? I love a midweek wine. 1 sober week a month. This would probably be a learning, like not having goals that are very similar and like trying to measure them separately. I think I did that one other month, actually. I did it for a month in July. I did one. Go to therapy. Yep, on track with that. I've never had a social media free day per month. I'm going to go and can this. I think this just isn't realistic for someone with a social media presence. Maybe next year some goal ideas would be to like have a weekend, a social media free weekend or social media free dates or something. I don't know, but my money ones are on track. Another thing I would recommend is not having 8 to 10 or 1 to 2, like make it distinct goal so I know whether I've marked it off or not. Oh, donate blood monthly. I've got a can. My GP said that I can't at the moment because I've got low iron. Okay, so let's see how it's not like I'm particularly leaning in one area of life more than others. Look, it is what it is. I'm not feeling bad about my habits. I'm quite happy with how it's all going, really. What I want to wrap up with is talking about the things that I have learnt from having this kind of, it's not even a new goal setting system. Like Notion itself I've used for a long time, Attraction, but it's the mindset of being able to move things around and still call it a success. So in addition to that, some of the things that I wrote down as having learnt this year are not having too many goals, both because it's laborious to track, but it's also confusing. So like having a sober week a month and also having a amount of drink-free days per week. I think I should just choose one in future and try and simplify things a bit more. But I have a lot of interests and a lot of, different ways that I see a life being successful. So it's a tricky balance, but that's why I do like this system, because there is a place that I can capture all the pie in the sky goals at the start of the year and I can move them around. And as long as they're still feeding back to the original outcome for what I want from my life, I can tick them off as being good things that I'm doing in my life to move towards being the person I want to be. The other thing is being really specific about how I measure goals. I thought I was doing this as well, but I think I can refine that a bit more for some of them, knowing exactly what is a yes and what is a no, because I want to be able to, at the end of the year, which I'll probably do a video like this again at the end of the year, I want to be able to see on that progress bar, like, did I hit 80%? Did I hit 100%? Did I hit 40%? Did I hit 0%? I want to know that I'm consistently measuring the same each month. And something that I think would be good is having a stuff or belongings category. I have had that in the past and I just was like, oh, that's just lifestyle, that's just decluttering and whatever. But no, I think I do have specific goals around I'm quite interested in consumption and overconsumption. So I think having goals around the type of stuff that I have, one of the projects might be decluttering this particular thing or getting my wardrobe under this many items or fixing everything in this box. That I think my stuff plays on my mind a bit, and it would be good to spend some time thinking about, what do I really want that to look like? What role do I want my belongings to play in my life? And what do I need to do to move more towards that? So how long? I've been filming a while. I'm going to wrap that up here. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to hear what you think of this video. As I said, I'm playing around with YouTube, figuring out what I like to make, what people resonate with. Yeah. All right, I need to go eat something.